My preferred pronouns are I, me, he, and sometimes you and us. I'm a light-skinned black man from Cincinnati, Ohio, who now lives in the East Bay of California. Uh, uh, and I have been here since the mid 70s, late 70s, have and came out here in order to not only um, save myself um, from a lot of things, but also to become healthy. And as a part of that journey, I ended up at a school called the Wenwu School for Internal Martial Arts, and which was run by then Master Young Chung Chiang. And he insisted that we, in order to be able to practice the form that he wanted to teach us properly, we had to be stretched out well enough to do it. And I was stiff as a board, ergo why I was out here to get my health together. And I stretched and stretched and stretched and hurt myself and had to wait 3 months and then started over again at the school. And my body was so stiff and it was so painful that I found myself in tears at one point and talking with one of the assistants instructors. And he said, well, and I said, I went in tears to him and I said, you know, Richard, I can't do this by myself. He said, none of us can. He said, come to my house tomorrow and I'll give you a massage. I'd never had a massage of any kind in my life. He put me in a furrow bath, they were called in those days, hot tub, at an outlandish temperature, like 113, 114 degrees, and cold buckets of water, really traditional. Several times, I'm lightheaded, I went into his room and he immediately took me up on his back, set me down on the floor, and began to manipulate my neck. At 14, I had fractured my neck and the bones of my neck were fused. And I had been told that I should never get into a fight or get hit or something like that because it could compromise the surgery. So when he started adjusting my neck in 6 different directions, and at every moment he did it, I didn't die. I thought, something's happening here. Something important is happening here. He worked on me with his feet as well as his hands, back and front of my body. And when he finished, not only had I suffered tremendous pain while he was working all the time, but when he finished, I felt like I was a child. My body was incredibly light. I was full of energy. And I felt like, really, it felt like a 4-year-old. And I thought to myself, this is important. Whatever this is important. So I became his student. He allowed me to become his student. And I practiced with him for a long time, for a solid year. And then he introduced me to his teacher, a woman named Shizuko Yamamoto, and I studied with her for a time and became a practitioner of the art. And actually taught it for maybe 35 years at the Acupressure Institute in Berkeley, run by Michael Gock. And during that period of teaching and practicing, I realized at one point that I was picking up so much information from people kinesthetically that I needed to find even a more efficient way of extracting information from them, both spoken and unspoken. So I spoke with another dear friend of mine, a woman named Phyllis Pei, who's a Bay Area psychic. She invited me to one of her classes, and I learned how to do psychic readings so that I opened up my visualization center, the 6th chakra, so that I could read as well, see as well as read through the body. And that has proven to be a tremendous combination for me. And uh, I'm not sure where I want to go else with that, except to say that it has allowed me to help people find uh, balance in their lives in ways that they didn't know was possible, and I didn't know was possible until their universe walked through my door.
And the practice that you've done for 35 years, or one of them, that's ashiatsu and acupressure, correct?
Correct. It's also called, ashiatsu is also called barefoot shiatsu. That was my teacher's name for it. She invited me to use another term for it because I was going to put out a video. And I think for proprietary reasons, she invited me to coin another term. And at the time, no one was using the term ashiatsu. Now it's used all the time.
Anything more about your journey that you'd like to share?
Only how important it is, as it has been for me when I have fallen out of discipline, to be able to forgive myself in return. Return to practice. And that's, you know, we all have cycles of progress and regress. And when I found myself in regressive places, instead of trashing myself, I've encouraged myself to move forward again, and found support to do that. One of the largest supports for me in doing that has been my wife, Priscilla Regalado, and any client and any students and any person I've been able to identify as a teacher has been able to do that for me too. Most recently, that happened for me with a man named Malidoma Some, who's a shaman from Burkina Faso, and he reminded me when I told him I thought I had received a transmission from the, if I can say this properly, the Kong people of Africa. They're the Bushmen of Africa. I thought I received a transmission of a song from them. He said, yes, indeed, you have. When I shared the song with him, that being available for support, not only from corporeal beings, but from the ancestors, from energetic beings, even from, if you will, angelic energies, the bird tribe. Receiving support is very important. And you never know where it's going to come from. I received support the other day from the hand of a homeless person when I shook it. It opened me up completely. So, you know, you never know.
One of the most powerful teachings that you've ever shared with me is the teaching of you are the sole possessor of your body. And in a society that continues to profit from the unredressed historical trauma of slavery and ongoing institutional racism, the attempted genocide and mass dispossession of land of Native American people here in Turtle Island, unequal pay and extreme and insidious violence against women, especially women of color, eugenicist policies towards people with disabilities, and unprecedented xenophobia against immigrants, religious minorities, and queer, trans, and gender non-binary people. This is a hard teaching to master. Can you talk about this teaching and how we can best practice it?
I think it's important to remember that when you came into the body, you were the sole occupant of that body. That's the language I use, as opposed to possessor. You're the occupant. Just like we're temporary occupants of this globe. But that if one recognizes that they are the sole occupant of their body, they have the right to be the sole occupant of their body. That gives them permission then to expel from their body any energies other than their own, even especially energies that are harmful, that are not allowing you to be on purpose. purpose, your intention as a being for taking on bodily form. Um, and and it also allows you to identify energies that you may be carrying in your body that you're comfortable with, that are actually supportive of you. Um, the value of this is that when you are taking action in the world, when you're an agency, you are able to recognize that you are totally responsible for your action. You can't lay the blame for that on anyone, or the reward of that success of that on anyone but yourself. And I think that's fair not only to you but other human beings. I think there too often people are willing to distract themselves from their own responsibility by laying blame for whatever condition they find themselves in, or are participating in, on others. The current administration is a tremendous example of that. Never, ever wanting to be responsible for anything that interferes with their agendas. So, being in ownership of yourself, and this is at a very base level in the physical body. It's really at the level of survival in the body, in the base of the pelvis, where this energy is accessed. Allows you to not just be surviving, which the first chakra is about, but to be able to thrive in the world, and to be on purpose and be of service in the world. So that, I don't know if that's all that I want to say about that, but that's all that's coming to mind right now.
Today is Martin Luther King Day, and it's very special that you're taking time to speak with me. Would you like to reflect on this day and its meaning to you, given your lifelong work and your mother's leadership in civil rights organizing in Cincinnati?
It's really interesting. I was on my way home from my therapist. I'm still working with a therapist at 73. You're never too old to change. Up to the last breath, there's an opportunity. I was listening to the jazz station 91.1 on our FM dial here, and they were playing music, and that was that had me in tears. A song by Donny Hathaway, "Hang On to the World as It Spins Around." Beautiful song, and Black poets speaking, and I came home and I turned on my TV, and there was a program on the life of Martin Luther King, and all the challenges he was dealing with, especially when he was in Chicago, and all the hatred that was coming his way. And I think he was not about racial freedom. I think he was about species freedom. How we as a species can become free of the moorings that are keeping us locked, harbored in hatred and small mind and disillusion and greed. He was a throughput. That's a term I like, a throughput for light. And the light was informing us how we can be in the world. And it brought up all the darkness. The light brought up all this darkness, as this president is doing, bringing up all this darkness. I'm actually, this may sound strange, but I'm as horrific as our times in this country are right now. It's all the pain, all the woundedness, all the sores, all the pus is being brought to the surface. And I'm so grateful for that, you know, that it cannot be denied. It cannot be suburbanited, right? Overpassed. And my mother was a civil rights leader in Cincinnati, became a mayor out of her work trying to desegregate an amusement park that my brother and I couldn't go to as kids. That was her that's what got her started. Um, uh, and she's 97 years old now, and a dormitory that she couldn't even on a campus that she was just barely able to get onto, where she wasn't able to stay. They're now naming a new dormitory after her. Amazing, right? My father, who also supported her and free access to the Cincinnati park system for all people. When during the 30s and 40s, when Black people didn't have much of an opportunity to to go to more established kinds of places of entertainment, you could go to a park. My father fought to make sure the parks could stay open for all people. And so as a consequence, they've named an overlook in a park after my father. You know, the people, when people are doing the right thing, it's hard not to recognize them. It's hard not to give them, to honor them. And Martin Luther King deserved to be honored even more in this country than he was. Certainly internationally, he was honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. We needed more than just a statue of him in Washington, D.C. We needed better public schools with heat, with heat, so little kids can, and no lead paint so that they don't destroy their brains. We need so many things so that there aren't people living outdoors that want to be living indoors. You know, there needs to be a reduction in the discrepancy between the very wealthy in this country and the very poor in this country. And he was all about that too. And that's really, I think, why he got taken out, because he was talking about economics towards the end. And I have tremendous respect for this man and his voice, the resonance of his voice, and how it was able to move the bones in the ears of so many people all the way into their hearts. Ah, delicious, delicious man. Yeah, I'm grateful for this day, and I'm surprised that unlike most other days in our city, the trash wasn't delayed being picked up today. They still picked up it. I'm grateful that they picked it up, but I would wish they had honored him in the same way that they honor Washington or somebody or anyone else's birthday on a Monday. One form of meditation, there are a number of forms of meditation that I do, but one form I do was taught to me by my Tai Chi teacher, is abdominal meditation, where you rest your hands on your abdomen below the navel, between the navel and the pelvic pubic symphysis. And you allow your hands to rise and fall with the breath. As you inhale, they rise. As you exhale, they fall. And noting that your hands are rising and falling, but also as your hands start to fall, you lightly press down. And then you relax just before they start to rise again. And then as they start to fall, you lightly press down, and you note that. Relaxing, rising, sinking, pressing, relaxing, rising, sinking, pressing. Doing this exercise for a friend of mine relieved his back pain. And meditation in general, it softens and opens up all the tissues of the body and boosts the immune system. So if you're fighting any kind of illness, any kind of physical and even emotional imbalance. Meditation can help calm inflammation. It can help reduce irritation in your system, and it can calm the mind. Over time, it will calm the mind. Initially, you get to hear how much noise there is going on in your head all the time. The monkey mind, the Buddhists call it. But over time, it calms you down tremendously, and you are then available to be present for the moment you're residing in. If you get to be present in the moment that you're residing, then you get to maximize your alternatives at that point. And that's freedom. That's freedom. You get to choose what you want to do with your life. So I think meditation is, and there are all kinds, you know, it doesn't have to be sitting lotus. You can walk and meditate. You can lie down and meditate. It's simply about practicing, attending to the breath primarily. And if you can do that, then you get to feel how alive you actually are. And with that comes the responsibility for being alive. Right? Right. So then the more you meditate, the more difficult it becomes to shirk your responsibility for your life. So if you don't want to be responsible for your life, don't meditate. If you're really wanting to be in charge of making and owning the choices that you make with your life, then try meditation. I invite you to, yeah. And find one that works for you. Yoga is meditation. Dancing is meditation. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. Can I read you a poem? Not that one I read to you earlier.
Of course.
The title of it is actually a quote from a line from a poem by Theodore Rutke called In a Dark Time. And as we are in now, fortunately, yeah. So have to be dark before there's light. The title is What is Madness? But Nobility of Soul at Odds with Circumstance. So my thinking about this is that madness is something that you can work with. And certainly we have madness that we're working with as a culture. The world is dealing with madness in general. It can be worked with. So this is the poem. To ply madness, access that which can observe from within. Back to meditation again. Right? Open the heart to universal resonance and let it fill with that affinity. Commit to caring for your essence, no matter what might occur. And then, like a Messiah warrior throwing off his cloak to go naked into battle, surrender your identifications. Bare yourself to circumstance. Allow it to scour and clear your vessel. Let it remove all obstruction to you as throughput of the majesty and integrity, eloquence and elegance, grace and gravity of your singular light. Thank you.